Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? And what's good, Heat Nation? How are y'all doing? Because I know some of y'all fit into both. I know if you are part of both, you are on cloud 9. And if you're a Panthers fan, you're still on cloud 9. But for the rest of you who don't watch hockey and basketball, what's good? I hope everyone is having a fantastic start to their week. OTAs, day 4 kicked off today. Now, the media was not at OTAs today. We got some video, though. But the media was not at OTAs today. They'll be at OTAs tomorrow. Now, here is the thing. Tomorrow is obviously... we will have Nick Hicks on the show, 8 p.m. tomorrow night. You're not going to want to miss that. We're going to talk OTAs. We're going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. You know, I'm going to ask him, hey, how's Dalvin Cook doing right now? What kind of shape is he in? Is he in the best shape of it? We're going to dabble on Dalvin Cook. We're going to talk everything, all right? Hell, we've talked about Dalvin Cook the last 2 years because I always ask him about his running backs and how his running backs going because, let's be honest, Perform is running back you, all right? So... shout out to the homie Nick. We're gonna have him on tomorrow. We're gonna chop it up. It should be a good one. Make sure you tune in. Don't miss that one. 8 p.m. Like I said, me and Nick Hicks, our yearly powwow and Dolphins discussion. So be on the lookout for that one. Heard the Bills want Dalvin. I've heard Dalvin won't go there because of James. So we'll see how that goes, right? Shout out to everyone in the chat, all y'all showing up. Shout out to Andrew Harris, Blake Cochran, Gerald Rodriguez, Salvador Renteria, Aladino Mass, Jeffrey Ward, Dean Antonelli, Omar Ginner, Darth Logan, Scott Stevens, South Florida Dawn, Samuel Rosa, Jeff Sweet, JB, Robert Thomas and JJ Box Breaks Locals. Wayne D. What's up, Wayne? How you doing, my guy? Wayne D. Experience. 1017 Man. How are you doing? Topher, Aaron Berg. And I think I've said this to you before, but, you know, I just did my, you know, every few years watch of Seinfeld, and every time I see your name, all I think is Alec Berg. It's Alec Berg. So shout out to Aaron Berg. Stetson Zero, Chef. Stetson 0, Stetson O. Chef Jew, what's good? How are you doing, homie? How's marriage going, brother? Troy Hicks, Poke Greninja. Hold on. Poke Greninja 39. Kurok, like the video game. Oh no, that's Turok. Never mind. I apologize. Michael Pulisic, Josh Hart, Justin Vanderberg, another strong name. Brian Gonzalez, Russell, how you doing? Mark Ozig, Jason Keck, how are you doing, man? Are you in a good mood today, bro? You've been the Debbie Downer lately on this channel, you know? You're a very pessimistic Dolphin fan, I've noticed. Charles Hilton, Tom Martin, said he just found this channel like an hour and 15 minutes ago. Watched this last live stream. I believe I found my new favorite brother, and we're in May. You wait, Tom. It only gets better from here. All right? It only gets better from here. IMAX, Robert Carrillo, Joe. How are you doing? Jeff Premont, MG Taxman, Polyking 305. How are you doing? It's good, sir. Swamp Donkey Crypto, Ted S. reminds me. Got to go ahead. Got to finish Ted Lasso. Nicholas Flynn. K-Jax. Finn Fella. Matthew Upchurch. Scotty. Gerald Rodriguez. Man, I'm trying to catch up. I'm going to get there. Don't you worry. Jeff Stoudemire. All right, I'm getting there. Garn 79 and Sean Davis. And your boy is caught up. Appreciate all y'all. Hope y'all doing good. How are y'all doing? Oh, so Marvelous got it in here. There you go. You get the last shout out. Listen, I got, they aren't moving. I don't know, we're going to talk about, because apparently this was the topic for South Florida writers today of what the Dolphins should be doing post June 1st. And we're going to talk about it. Two different outlets covered it, so we're going to go over it. Personally, this is where I'm at. Defensive tackle, a linebacker, and another lineman. If you can get that, please. Please. But I think I don't see much coming to that offensive line. What are they going to go? Maybe they go out and they sign George Fant. As insurance. I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so. But defensive tackle, and we talked about this, and I'll bring it up again. Hey, if you can get him on the cheap right now, go get that Patrick, go get Patrick Queen on the cheap. Wilkins extension. Listen, I agree. And I agree Fant is garbage on top of that. But literally, Fant is probably the best tackle out there right now. Because everyone else is gone. As far as Wilkins extension, that creates another, you get more cap space if you extend them. You get almost $10 million extra if you extend Christian Wilkins. And, listen, we continue to wait. The whole defensive tackle market has been reset multiple times this offseason, but we continue to wait on Christian Wilkins. And it's going to be very interesting because I'm telling y'all, he's asking for more than $20 million, and rightfully so. He got every right in the world to ask for more than $20 million, but I said it before, I'll say it again. We're notorious for starting off negotiations by lowballing, and on top of that, Zach Sieler is not making it easy on Christian Wilkins. If Zach Sieler was not on that team, this extension would be done. I'm telling you right now. I am telling you right now. But they're looking at it and they're saying, listen, on about 80 less snaps, he gave us better pass rush production and not as good, but similar, run defense production. Obviously not as good as Christian Wilkins. Do not get that twisted. Christian Wilkins is one of the best run defenders in the game right now on the interior, if not the best. So I'm not putting him on his level, but that's what's hurting him because they're sitting back and they're saying, Zach Sieler going to cost us 11 to 14 million a year probably. Zach Sieler ain't going to come out here and ask for 18, 19, 20 million dollars. So I think that's hurting. I really do. And, on top of this, why I don't think they can really play around with Wilkins, and they got to get this figured out, is because we got so... Listen, our front is probably one of the best defensive fronts in the NFL when you include the edges, outside linebackers. But when you get into the depth, beyond a couple names, it gets concerning. We got zero depth at nose tackle. Right? So, listen, I don't want Greer playing hardball to screw this up. All right? If what Christian Wilkins is asking for just is illogical and doesn't make sense and it's absurd, okay, I get it. But I really don't think he is. I really don't think he is. I do think he's probably asking for very, very similar money to probably Dexter Lawrence. But I don't know if my bad, Dexter Lawrence. Jeffrey Simmons money. I don't know if he's going to get Jeffrey Simmons money. I see him more in the Daron Payne. More in the Daron Payne. Listen, perfect. I'm going to tell you this right now. If he's asking for anything less than $20 million, lock it up right now. If he's asking for over $20 million, okay. You know, I've said this before. 4 years. Okay. 4 years. 80 million, 60 guaranteed should be the starting point. That's where I would start at. You want to do 5 years? Okay. Then it's 5 years, 100 million, 75 million guaranteed. Because it always comes down to the guaranteed money, right? It doesn't come down to, well, I mean, some players, you know, they want to be the number one hit. We've seen this before. But, you know, that's $20 million a year, and I'm guaranteeing $15 million of that a year, basically. So you only have a $5 million incentive. That's a good guarantee right there. That would be my starting point with them. I will go $100 million for 5 years, $75 million, or if you want 4 years, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed. And the highest I would probably go up to, if you want my opinion, would probably be $100 million, $80 million guaranteed, or $80 million, $65 million guaranteed. I would just increase the guarantee. But, you know, that's where I'm at. He's young. He's productive. That's me knocking on wood. No injury history, so the guaranteed money shouldn't really worry you. You know what I mean? That's where I'd play with Christian Wilkins. Now, anything more than that, and I ain't tacking on guaranteed money, I would tack on to the $180 million, right? So, like, even still, you know, you do $105 million, and what, 80 million of that guaranteed? That's a good contract too. I mean, the cap hit is a little over 21.25 million a year. Oh, yeah, it's what, 21.2 million a year if you do that. And even I cringe at that. I mean, we're getting heavy here now. 21 million for an interior defensive lineman when Fangio's scheme doesn't really rely on you having to overdo it on the interior. It's really edge rusher, second level, and secondary guys get paid and are the cogs to the Fangio wheel on his defense. Not saying a guy like Christian Wilkins doesn't hurt. I mean, they drafted Draymond Jones under Fangio in Denver, but, you know, we just saw they let Draymond walk in Denver when it was all said and done. So, you know, that's where I'm at, you know, with Christian. Listen, I perfect scenario, $20 million, $60 million guarantee. Perfect scenario, $20 million a year, $15 million a year guaranteed. Work it out however you want over whatever on whatever years you want. Matthew Upchurch says, hey, reason after Tua, we were lost at quarterback. So you really think Thompson and White can win games if Tua goes down? See, that's where I'm at. First of all, I'm going to get back to your question. That's where I'm at, Aaron. That's exactly where I'm at. Listen, I love Christian Wilkins. I love his energy. I love his leadership skills. He is an ideal, like we talk about how Tua is the perfect fit for a leader at the quarterback position. Christian Wilkins is the perfect fit for a leader on defense. There is no denying that. Love him. Absolutely love him. One of my favorite Dolphin players. One of our best players. But you got to listen. If people don't want to hear it, that's fine for them. My job to all of you is to keep it objective. And objectively speaking, he is not fully complete yet. You know why? As a pass rusher. Listen, do I think he's I said it earlier. I think he's one of the best run defenders, if not the best interior run defender in the league. I will give him his props. But at the end of the day, he's not as complete of an interior guy as the Aaron Donalds, right? As the Jeffrey Simmons. He's just not, because he doesn't add the pass rushing repertoire that those gentlemen do. That's just a fact. Does he offer you nothing against the pass? No, by no stretch of the imagination. No stretch. But we can all say, he's above average to good. I'd say he's good. Let's go with good. But am I sitting here saying he's great or elite? No. But I will say he's great or elite against the run. Right? So, listen. At the end of the day, I want him to get his bag. And I want him to get his bag in Miami. I don't want to see Christian Wilkins. I remember seeing Jason Taylor in a Jets uniform. I remember seeing Zach Thomas in a Cowboys uniform. All right? Hell, I didn't like seeing Paul Soliai go in another uniform. I don't want to see Raekwon in another uniform. I want to see him in aqua and orange. But people have to realize, I want people to put this into perspective. We are paying Tyreek Hill around $29-30 million a year. You're talking about getting into the $22 million range for an interior defender. That is literally almost wide receiver one money. That's $7 million away from being paid like you're arguably the best receiver in the NFL. It's him or Justin Jefferson. But also Tyreek's arguably the best athlete the NFL's ever seen. And you're not far off from it. So you got to start putting things into perspective in that way. And then when you look at Zach Sieler, we can all admit, is an unsung hero. And Zach Sieler is going to be a whole hell of a lot cheaper. And Zach Sieler, I think, offers you more on the outside. So, as an end. So, we've even seen them flex, and what I mean is, you've even seen them flex him out as an edge. They've used Sieler's just ridiculous flexibility. But again, is Sieler Christian Wilkins? No. But we got to start looking from a monetary perspective. And this is these are the hard decisions that are going to come. I mean, even if Wilkins gets extended, guys, we're going to be right back in the same position next offseason, because there's going to be players on this team where hard decisions are going to come by. I know there's a lot of Jerome Baker fans out there. I know there's a lot of Xavier Howard fans out there, and tough decisions are coming down the pipeline on those players. Tough decisions are going to come down the pipeline if you extend Wilkins. What do you do with Zach Sieler when he needs to be extended? They're going to have a tough decision with Raekwon Davis. Listen, has Raekwon Davis lived up to his draft expectations? No. But I know there's a lot of people in this fan base who still love Raekwon Davis, see what his potential is, and see what his potential ceiling is. But tough decisions are going to have to be made. And we're just talking about defense. We ain't even talking about the running back room. We ain't even talking about the receivers. Berrios could ball out this year and he's on a 1-year deal. What do you do? Right? What do you do? Now, as far as Skylar Thompson and Mike White coming in and winning games, I believe how good this roster is and how good this defense is going to be. I believe games can be won with Mike White and Skylar Thompson on this roster. As many games? Oh, hell no. As decisively as we're going to win with two at the helm? Oh, hell no. They'll be squeaking them out in ugly wins. But I do believe we can win some games. I don't think this is a playoff run team with Mike White or Skylar Thompson at the helm. Could they maybe upset everyone and win one playoff game with one of those guys at the helm? Sure, they almost did it last year, and I think the roster is better than last year, especially defensively. But I don't see a deep playoff run without Tua Tagovailoa. I don't see historic offensive numbers without Tua Tagovailoa. I don't see Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle breaking the single-season wide receiver duo receiving record without Tua. I don't hear MVP chants raining down from the crowd on our team for the quarterback playing unless it's Tua. So, tough Thomas Burke says, I think that with our run game, we could withstand Tua missing a game. I agreed, a game or two. I agreed 110%, Thomas. But it's when you start getting into multiple games in a playoff run where, it's just, it's tough. It is tough. So, we'll see how it works out. But, hey, look at it, guys. Waddle and Tyreek Hill had 15 touchdowns between the two of them last year. All of them came from the left arm of God. None of them came from Teddy or Sieler. And they had 5 games to do it without him. So, not only does that kill the, wide receivers made Tua narrative, because it sure seems like Tua was their safety blanket, not the other way around, which we said the year before when Waddle disappeared, when Jacoby Brissett took over. We told, it was evident when we broke down the film every Tuesday, because we break down the film every Tuesday here, and it was evident, Tua Tuesdays, they started here. People try to duplicate and replicate, but they never can. And we broke down the film, and we saw Waddle disappeared without Tua. This year, Tyreek didn't disappear, but Tyreek wasn't nearly as explosive, and Waddle did disappear. He averaged like almost 30 yards less per game without Tua. So, yeah, Tua matters. Tua is the cog that gets everything going. I told y'all before, I'll tell y'all again. That's why he is the perfect quarterback for Mike McDaniel's offense. You see the results. They're right there in front of you. He's just got to stay healthy. He stays healthy, we are gravy trained. If Tua Tagovailoa stays healthy, this is a Super Bowl team. There's a reason why Louis Riddick doubled down yet again today, saying we are going to win the AFC East, because this is a Super Bowl caliber team with Tua healthy at the helm. It is what it is, and it's a beautiful thing. And let's hope and I think, you know what? I do think he's going to play healthy. He's got to get paid. He knows how important it is. You see the work he's putting in to stay healthy. No one's working as hard as Tua, let alone working as hard as Tua in the NFL to stay healthy next season. So, hey, even all you Flores apologists and sympathizers, what did Flores used to say? If you put the hard work in, the results are going to follow. And we've seen it with Tua. He put the hard work in last offseason. We saw the massive leap in his game. Now he's putting the hard work in to stay healthy. Let's see the massive leap in his health. 425 of you in the room. Please smash the like button. Subscribe if you're new. Guys, OTAs went down today. Here are the clips from today. See the boys out there stretching. Orange jersey was Javon Holland's on this day. Settle it in. Backpedal, open the hips, and turn, baby. Let's go. And there is the man in the orange jersey, Javon Holland. Oh, boy. Oh, that's my guy right there. That's my guy. I love seeing him successful. One of my biggest draft crushes ever since I started this channel. Cam Smith, look at backpedaling, looking beauty. And then you got the rookie first, and now look at the vet. X. Man, those hammies look good, baby. And you got Jeff Wilson out here doing the thing, too. Not really much going on today. Not much coming out of OTAs. Obviously, the media is going to be there tomorrow. But like I reminded you, we'll talk about OTAs tomorrow. But Nick Hicks, Tua Tagovailoa's trainer, will be here tomorrow night, 8 p.m., for our annual off-season discussion. We'll talk to Tagovailoa. I'll ask him how Dalvin Cook and his stable of running backs are doing this offseason. We ask him every year. Again, perform his running back you, baby. So we'll chop it up with him. We'll talk about the offseason. We'll pick his brain because that man has had so much talent come through onto his field this year working with Tua. I'm going to pick his brain about Eric Ezukanma, what he's seen, everything. It's going to be a great conversation. We had over 24,000 of you tune in last year. It was over 20,000 views, that video. Hopefully, y'all can join us again this year. Appreciate you guys. So, be out on the lookout for that tomorrow night, all right? So, OTAs, back at it today. Javon Holland, rocking the orange jersey. The media is going to be at OTAs tomorrow. So we will have a lot to talk about. Don't worry. And yeah, we got a ton going on. And Thursday, before the Heat game, before game 1, Fin Too Deep with myself and Neil Driscoll. And then Friday, final day of OTAs, guys. Friday is the final day of OTAs. So then we got to get into mandatory minicamp. And then once we get through minicamp, gentlemen, women in the chat, you know what time it is then. Then it is what? It is training camp. We are almost there, baby. So, yeah, remember, mandatory minicamp will be June 6th, 7th, and 8th. So, man, a lot coming up and going on. We're just getting started here. Again, over 450 of you in the room. Please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. Let's get into it because the talk is, guys, we have been patient. We have gone through the offensive line moves. We have swam, backstroke, deep dived into the Dalvin Cook rumors. And we are only a few days away from all that money being cleared up, June 1st to be exact. And the talk today among South Florida writers was, what are they going to do post June 1st? So from Barry Jackson and Daniel Oifusi, how the Dolphins could use $13.6 million in cap space from Byron Jones's release. So the Dolphins' expected influx in cap space arrives on Thursday. Miami will officially receive $13.6 million in cap space by releasing cornerback Byron Jones with a post-June 1st designation. The Dolphins in March announced they were cutting Jones with a failed physical. Jones did not play the 2022 season after undergoing leg surgery last offseason, and we all know the backstory about that, guys. If you don't know, if you're new here, if you do not know what the deal is basically this. Byron Jones last year knew he was going to get moved. We were trying to move off of him last offseason. Why? Well, do you guys remember why we had almost $20 million of cap rolled in to the year? The reason why is because that cap, that money, was meant for J.C. Jackson. Josh Boyer wanted us to try and make a move for J.C. Jackson. And you see, this year we went out and got Jaylen Ramsey, which again, if you're a Patreon member, I had that rumor. I knew we were going after Jaylen Ramsey at the trade deadline as well. So, that is why he took his surgery, because once Byron took his surgery, his money got guaranteed. We couldn't move him, and J.C. Jackson idea was dead. So by giving him that June 1st designation, the team avoids a dead cap charge of about $14.8 million in 2023. The Dolphins entered the week with about $3.4 million in cap space, according to the NFL Players Association salary cap report. The extra funds will allow Miami to sign its 4-player draft class. The team will need about $3.8 million, according to Sport Track. And while the team has had negotiations with defensive lineman Christian Wilkins on an extension, the team can easily extend him under its current financial situation. A new deal would actually free cap space by lowering his cap hit with a prorated signing bonus. But the extra room could allow the Dolphins to continue to add to their roster after an active free agency period followed by some low-cost additions in recent weeks. Here's how the Dolphins could use the additional cap space. They could pursue Dalvin Cook. The Dolphins have been frequently linked to running back Dalvin Cook in recent months, as his future with the Minnesota Vikings has come into question. Earlier this offseason, the Dolphins and Vikings discussed a trade for Cook. A Miami native and Miami Central alum, Cook, who turns 28 in August, has 3 years remaining on a 5-year extension he signed in 2020. However, only $2 million is guaranteed, all in 2023. And Vikings general manager Gusay Adolfo-Mensah has been non-committal about keeping Cook for the upcoming season. After selecting running back Devon Achane in the 3rd round of the 2023 draft, Joining a position group that also includes Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr., head coach Mike McDaniel was asked generally about the possibility of adding a veteran running back. Generally, nothing is off the table, McDaniel said, but we're really happy with the offseason we had, the players that we were able to keep on this roster, the new ones that we added in the draft, and that we're going to in free agency. There will always be stuff that we'll investigate because that's our job. The Vikings haven't informed Cook whether they plan to cut him, and Cook does not have permission to speak with other teams. Minnesota is believed to want him to take a pay cut. He's due to make $10.4 million this season, which is high for a running back. His cap hit of $14.1 million is also high. Though adding the All-Pro back would create a bit of a logjam in the backfield, it would still bolster an offense that was one of the NFL's most explosive units last season. The Dolphins remain among a handful of potential destinations if he's released. So again, this is something the Herald has not shied away from. And they're telling you right here that if he's released, we remain among a handful of potential destinations. Adding depth at other positions, the Dolphins have put together one of the more talented rosters in the NFL, but could look to add depth at certain positions. This month, Miami signed veteran offensive lineman Isaiah Wynn and Cedric Ogbuehi and tight end Tyler Croft, all of whom are expected to compete for roster spots this summer. Though the Dolphins addressed most holes on the roster this offseason, they have yet to add a veteran defensive lineman to back up Raekwon Davis after John Jenkins left in free agency. Right here, a name I've mentioned for all y'all right here. Akeem Hicks played under defensive coordinator Vic Fangio with the Chicago Bears and is one of multiple veteran linemen available who could fit into a reserve role. The Dolphins have great depth amongst their defensive front, but with no clear backup to Davis, they could use an addition there. So I second that. That is something even me and Daniel Ifusi talked about when he's on the channel. That's a name I've mentioned. Akeem Hicks is a name I would be calling right now and lining up for June 1st. They could also carry it over into the season. The Dolphins will keep a few $1 million in cap space as a cushion if it needs to add players during the season. Injuries are inevitable, and the team will go through shuffling at the bottom of the roster, so Miami will need a little bit of wiggle room to add players. However, the Dolphins could keep even more cap space with an eye in 2024. NFL rules allow teams to carry over unused cap space into the next season. For example, Miami carried over about $2 million this season from 2022. The Browns carried over a league-high $27 million. The NFL salary cap is projected to be about $256 million for the 2024 season, an increase from the $225 million cap this year, giving every team more room to work with. But the Dolphins are projected to be about $30 million over the cap, with 51 players under contract for 2024, according to Spotrac. This is partially the byproduct of restructuring deals of players such as wide receiver Tyreek Hill and linebacker Bradley Chubb, freeing up immediate cap space but creating large cap hit situations in future years. The Dolphins have a few notable players who will be free agents after 2023, headlined by Wilkins if they don't reach an agreement on a long-term deal. But Miami will have the mechanisms to get under the cap and make moves next offseason. Sitting on some of the money gained from releasing Jones could assist with those efforts. And I agree. Listen, especially if you go ahead and you extend Wilkins and it adds about another $10 million on top of that, listen, instead of just using it all up, I know all you got to do is use the majority of it, but carry some over because we're going to need it. This team is going to need it. You know, kicking the can down the line is going to catch up with us and roll over some of the money. But that's why if you extend Wilkins, you could carry over $10 million and still spend about $12, $13 million. So even more incentive to get that extension done, right? In my humbled opinion. And again, it's just they continue to link us with Dalvin Cook. Continues. So we will see. We're only about 48. We're not far away. We're under 48 hours away. So we're gonna see what the Vikings do. Everyone's gonna be watching what happens in Minnesota. It's gonna be interesting. Omar Kelly also wanted to discuss about the financial relief coming for the Dolphins. He said the Dolphins will have roughly $12 million in cap space to use after signing the draftees once Byron Jones' contract comes off the books. Think of the Miami Dolphins as a middle-class family getting their income tax refund from the government in the next few days. While the influx of money creates a level of excitement, there are pending bills to pay, and wouldn't it be nice to pay down some of that credit card debt? How about making a major purchase? Everyone anticipating that when the $13.6 million in cap space the Dolphins will receive June 1st for the official release of cornerback Byron Jones might be setting themselves up for a letdown. The Dolphins need to use some of that cap, $3.8 million to be exact, to sign Cam Smith, Devon Achane, Elijah Higgins, and Ryan Hayes. It's a good thing they still have they're saying we only have $2.5 million here left over from all the offseason moves made to this point. But what can be done with the $12.3 million in cap space? Here's something what Omar's saying too. He's backing up what we're saying. The Dolphins would benefit from adding a veteran defensive lineman like Akeem Hicks or a linebacker like Anthony Barr, Rashawn Evans, or Miles Jack. Miami signed veteran pass rusher Melvin Ingram to a one-year $4.4 million deal last May after the draft, and then added Trey Flowers in late August, signing the pass rusher to a one-year deal worth $2.1 million. There are still talented, capable free agents looking for work. Miami could use the cap space to put finishing touches on the 2023 roster by adding one or three. The Dolphins could benefit from adding a veteran on every level of defense heading into training camp. Cap space carryover is needed, though. However, for most of this decade, with last year being the lone exception, the Dolphins typically have carried $9 to $13 million in cap space into each season for a break in case of emergency situations. What are those? It's when Miami signed Jay Cutler to a $13 million deal weeks before the start of the 2017 season because of the season-ending injury to Ryan Tannehill suffered in training camp. The Dolphins acquired Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos and Jeff Wilson from the 49ers at the trade deadline last year. Miami had to restructure linebacker Jerome Baker's contract to make those deals fit into Miami's accounting. The break-in-case emergency fund would give Miami the financial freedom to seize on possible trades or lure upper-echelon free agents, possibly Minnesota tailback Dalvin Cook, who surprisingly hit the market. Again, he mentions Dalvin Cook even. And what isn't used becomes cap carryover added to the team's finances next season. The Dolphins routinely have been one of the NFL's most fiscally responsible teams, which is evident in their cap carryover from season to season. But the summer tough decisions need to be made about a number of young players in their prime, since there are a handful of veteran starters looking for new contracts. There are 3 starting defensive linemen in Christian Wilkins, Zach Sieler, and Raekwon Davis, and offensive linemen Connor Williams and Robert Hunt are impending free agents and likely will continue to push for a new deal before the 2023 season begins. Overall, there are 28 players set to play on the last year of their deal with the Miami Dolphins. Veteran players in their prime dislike beginning seasons without a multi-year deal because they shoulder all the risk if an injury happens. Look at cornerback Nick Needham, for instance. Needham, a 4-year starter for Miami, signed a restricted tender worth $3.99 million last season instead of pushing for a multi-year deal and wound up tearing his Achilles in October. While the Dolphins were gracious enough to re-sign Needham to a 1-year deal worth $1.67 million, which paid him a $152,500 signing bonus and guaranteed him nearly $600,000, his drastic pay cut, nearly half, serves as a cautionary tale, reminding players in the final year of their deals to handle their business when it's time to do so, which is the offseason. No matter how the Dolphins carve up this $13.6 million in cap space, that's coming this week. The franchise should consider it a blessing because it will create a much-needed financial relief. Okay, I've said this before. You know, we all want Wilkins to get done, and I get it. But what's the plan at center here? I mean, he mentioned him, and I've mentioned him multiple times. Connor Williams. You don't even have... Come on. Feeney is not a viable backup. Feeney is a guy you don't want in there. You want him in the locker room, but you don't want to have to rely on him for multiple games. Okay? So, and he's only on a 1-year deal. And you've passed up on Creed Humphrey. You've passed up on centers the past couple of years. Now what's the deal? You basically moved off Michael Dieter and put an end to that. So where are we going here? we have no serious concrete plans or long-term security at center. And, that's like the quarterback of the offensive line. I've said this before. They treat some of these offensive line positions like the running back position. I don't get it. And Wilkins and Connor Williams should be top priorities to get done this offseason. You need to lock down Connor Williams. The guy's already a top 10 run blocking guard. And once he gets his, pre-snap stuff down and snapping fully down, he's going to be a top 10 center. He's going to reset the market. Look at, you're going to have a guy that's going to hit the market and say, I can give you top 10 center play or top 10 guard play. You know how much money he's going to get paid? You better get ahead of it now. You guys did this to yourself. You put him out of position, and now you've made him viable to very important positions on the offensive line. You got to lock it down. If I had to pick one, someone said, you paying Williams or Wilkins if you have to pick one? Not going to be popular, but Connor Williams. At least I know I got Zach Sieler if it don't work out with Wilkins. Who do I got if it don't work out with Connor Williams right now? And if you don't, here's the thing. If you don't work it out with him, you're going to have to pay on the market next year, or you're going to have to draft high. So you're going to have to spend high draft capital, high financial capital, even if you lose them. 480 of you in the room. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Appreciate all y'all for coming through. Let's keep it going, because guess what? PFF gave the interior its flowers. Look at this. Speaking of the interior, PFF interior defender rankings. Top 32 ahead of the 2023 NFL season. So, number 1 is still Aaron Donald. Number 2 is still Chris Jones. Number 3 is Dexter Lawrence, who got paid. Quinnen Williams, who he's trying to get paid right now, and him and the Jets are out of bypass. Cameron Hayward at 5. DeForest Buckner at 6. Again, I've used DeForest Buckner as an example. Remember, DeForest Buckner was drafted into that San Francisco 49ers defense, which has been using the base of Fangio's defense since he left. And they traded him. Instead of paying Buckner, they traded him to the Colts for a high draft pick. I've used him as an example of, listen, that's a guy who became a casualty because paying top dollar to interior defenders in this scheme is not a high priority. That's why a lot of people were shocked when the 49ers turned around and signed Hargrave for as much as they did this year, because usually they don't do that. Jonathan Allen at 7. Christian Wilkins, they got him at 8. So they said Wilkins established himself as a top 10 interior defender in his 4th NFL season. He had a PFF run defensive grades of 80.8 in 2021 and 78.9 in 2022. Ranked him among the top 4 players at the position. Although stronger as a run defender, he has also produced a 70-plus PFF pass rushing grade in each of the past 2 seasons. So they got him ranked 8th here. Well, my honest opinion, I think 5 to 8 is fair. I think Cameron Hayward, DeForest Buckner, Jonathan Allen, Christian Wilkins, you can shift those guys any way you want from 5 to 8. All right, and guess what? We ain't done. Jeffrey Simmons at 10. We ain't done. We are not done. All right? You go down here. And guess what? At 25, Zach Sieler, arriving with the Dolphins during the 2019 season after his claim off waivers from the Ravens. Sieler set a career high with an 84.9 PFF grade in 2021. His 73.4 PFF grade in 2022 didn't quite hit those heights, but his 944 snaps last season were over 400 more than any other season of his career, and it was the second year in a row that he topped a 77.0 PFF run defense grade. So look at, we got 2 top 25 interior defenders on this team. And listen, after year 1, after he made the Pro Football Writers of America, we would have thought Raekwon Davis would be on that list, but he ain't. He is not. It only goes to 32, and he didn't make it. So PFF giving our interior its flowers. Attaboy. And I think you'll see an increase in Sieler's play this year as he gets acclimated to playing a lot of snaps. Right? So we will see. Shout out to Zach Sieler doing the damn thing. And PFF just keeps giving us our flowers. I mean, they named the Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle duo as the top duo in the NFL right now. There you go. Rightfully so. You want my honest opinion? And this might not be overly popular. But, man, that Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk combo, look out. I really think that's going to climb. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin feel like they're falling off a bit. Tyler Lockett's starting to get old. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Quentin Johnston might have a real chance to replace one of those in that duo. Michael Thomas ain't what he was 3 or 4 years ago. That's Chris Olave's field. Yeah, I can see Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk working their way up that list. I'm very excited to watch Calvin Ridley this year. Everyone knows I'm a huge Calvin Ridley fan, so that'll be good stuff. So, hey, PFF giving us our flowers. I love it. After ranking Tua, I believe they ranked Tua the number 11 quarterback on their rankings, if I remember correctly. He was 11. Yeah, he was 11. We went over that, I believe, on this channel too. So there you go. Now, look at this. I want to show y'all, because you know this is a Jaylen Waddle stan channel. Wide receiver 1 for that draft. That was my guy. You know, they picked 3 draft crushers from mine on that draft. It was a great draft, that draft. And between Phillips, Holland, and Waddle, it was a great draft for the brand. And Waddle, look what Tyreek said, and I agree with him here. Tyreek Hill, Jaylen Waddle is an all-pro who hasn't had the attention yet. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was a first-team all-pro last season. He thinks teammate Jaylen Waddle should have been as well. Hill says Waddle is one of the NFL's elite receivers and that Waddle hasn't received as much attention as he deserves, in part because Hill gets so much. Man, to me, Jaylen is an all-pro, a Pro Bowler, but I feel he doesn't get the validation that he needs, Hill told ClickToHouston.com. Obviously, because you can't have 2 fast guys on a team doing the same thing. Jaylen is a dope player. He's an even doper person. The way I connect with Jaylen is off the field. I look at him like a younger brother, a guy who obviously wants to compete every day. He reminds me of myself. He's very competitive. He's very feisty. He doesn't back down from no challenges. For as much attention as Hill gets for his big plays, it was Waddle who led the Dolphins last season with 8 receiving touchdowns and an average of 18.1 yards per catch. The Dolphins have 2 elite big play receivers. And I had to go over this because I agree. You know, I think he got robbed of an all-pro and a Pro Bowl berth last year. You look at what he did last year, the numbers he put up behind arguably the best receiver in the NFL and the best athlete in the NFL, and Waddle put up the numbers he did. This man put up any team in the NFL that doesn't have Justin Jefferson or Devontae Adams would have salivated for the type of production that man put up last year. Okay? Jaylen Waddle is a wide receiver 1 on any other team. And he is playing at an all-pro level. There ain't no doubt about that to me. And guys, if you didn't know, we now have another set of joint practices. The Miami Dolphins And the Houston Texans will have joint practices August 16th and 17th in Houston before the second preseason game. So that means CJ Stroud, he's going to have multiple days against our secondary. I said this. Listen. I said this. Here's my thing. All right? Listen, CJ Stroud, you are living the dream. But guess what? Now you're going to have nightmares about our secondary. Okay? So that makes two teams we've set up joint practices with, right? The Texans and the Falcons, we now have joint practices set up with. So more for you guys to not only pay attention to, but be aware of. Because it's going down. Man, this season just cannot get here fast enough. I know I keep saying it, but man, it literally just can't get here fast enough. And finally, from Bleacher Report, they came out with this article. Shocking trade ideas the Dolphins should pursue before the 2023 season. The Miami Dolphins have become masters of the NFL trade market since McDaniels took over as a head coach. They made a blockbuster deal for a star wide receiver Tyreek Hill last offseason, and they acquired Jaylen Ramsey in March. I mean, Greer was doing this before McDaniel, so I don't know what's going on here. Dolphins have a clear directive to go after star veteran players, and they've executed that game plan to perfection so far. Miami does not have many holes on its roster right now, but it could use some extra help at safety. Ramsey and Xavier Howard are expected to start at cornerback, and Javon Holland is a rising star at safety. But the Dolphins could use more depth behind him. There are a few safeties across the league who could be moved at the right place. That might lead to a shocking move made by the Dolphins before the regular season begins. I guess they forgot we have Brandon Jones. I guess they forgot we signed Deshaun Elliott because they think we should land Budda Baker from Arizona. Miami can deal a shocking blow to the rest of the AFC by trading for Arizona safety Budda Baker. He has a $16.9 million cap hit this year and $18 million club option, which would be too expensive for the Dolphins. So a Baker deal would require restructuring of contracts. Dolphins had no problem in shopping draft picks elsewhere in the last two seasons. In Arizona, I'm not even going to continue reading this. That just makes no sense. You've added Deshaun Elliott. You have Brandon Jones. Now we're talking here with my boy. Make an in-state deal for Antoine Winfield Jr. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers might be in fire sale mode before the season begins. Have you guys been seeing Trask and Baker Mayfield at practice? Oh my God, it's been ugly. They're expected to drop off in a major whale after Brady's departure. They could offload some of their impending free agents in exchange for draft picks to start building for the future around whomever the long-term quarterback may be. Buck safety Antoine Winfield Jr. is on an expiring deal this season. He should have a robust free agent market in 2024. For now, Winfield could be a trade chip because of how low his salary and age. Miami could easily take on the 24-year-old since he only has a $3.7 million cap hit. They may not have to give up a ton in exchange for Winfield because of his contract. He would be a cheaper alternative and possibly a better one than Baker. A Holland-Winfield safety pairing alongside Holland and Ramsey would be terrifying. I agree. That would be the best secondary we've seen in Miami. I'm not even going to, ever. Miami may be more inclined to build up its defense in case it has to win games with that unit if quarterback Tua is hurt or struggles in any capacity. And then, finally, deal with Rams for a Tyler Higbee. Miami's one big weakness on offense is tight end. The Dolphins currently have Durham Smythe, Tyler Kroft, Eric Saubert, and Elijah Higgins on their roster, none of whom are dangerous threats in the passing game. Miami did not use its tight ends much in 2022, but it needs a competent pass catcher across the middle to take some of the pressure off Hill and Jaylen Waddle. Tyler Higbee is in the last year of his deal with the Rams, and he would give the Dolphins more talent across their offensive depth chart. Higbee is not as flashy of a trade target as Baker or Winfield, but he'd be a practical addition to an offense that can't have Tagovailoa hold on the ball for long periods in the pocket. The Rams might be reluctant to deal Higbee before the season if they think they can surge back into contention in 2023. That's what would make a potential Higbee deal so shocking. The Dolphins could raid the NFC twice in the same offseason to further fuel their Super Bowl ambitions. I'm going to be honest with you. That deal I actually like. Higbee at the right price, I would actually take Tyler Higbee on this team at the right price. I ain't going to lie. That one I would. Winfield, obviously, at the right price. Everyone knows Winfield was my top safety of the 2020 NFL draft. So I would take Antoine Winfield. Buda Baker, long in the tooth. Doesn't make sense. But listen, as much as I would want Antoine Winfield, would it make sense? We just signed Deshaun Elliott. Brandon Jones is coming back. But Tyler Higbee would make sense. Tyler Higbee would make sense. David Figley says, best Dolphins creator on YouTube. Smash that like button for your boy Reason. Fins up. I appreciate you, David. And thank you for the donation, my friend. Guys, OTAs tomorrow. The media is going to be out. We are going to talk about it tomorrow, obviously. But we're also going to have Nick Hicks on the show. 8 p.m. Not going to want to miss this one. We are going to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to talk about Dalvin Cook. We're going to talk about the receivers showing up and how they looked, right? You know, firsthand, because he's seen them more than the media has this offseason. So we are going to pick Nick Hicks' brain. I'm going to post it tonight on the community tab for channel members, and I'm going to post it in Patreon, a thread. If you have any questions for Nick Hicks, you're going to be able to post them there, and I will pick the best ones and add them to the lot of questioning, because it's going to be a good one tomorrow with Nick. I cannot wait. It's always a great conversation with my boy. I love it. One of the best in the game, Nick Hicks. There ain't no doubt about it. People mocked, and I rode with Nick from day one. I rode with Nick, and I will continue to ride with Nick while other people are doubting, while other people are hating. I continued to ride with that man and believed he was going to transform our quarterback, and we've seen the transformation. So shout out to Nick Hicks, one of the best in the business. And if you don't know, he also is a cookie connoisseur. Blueprint Cookies, okay, voted the best chocolate chip cookie in South Florida. Go check them out, all right? Shout out to the homie Nick Hicks. He'll be on the channel tomorrow. Listen, I'm going to get out of here. I will see all of y'all on the next one tomorrow night. You already know what time it is. And then Thursday we'll be back well before the Heat game, me and Neil, to wrap up this week. And then OTAs wrap up on Friday. So we'll be live on Friday as well. A lot of stuff going on. Over 480 of you in the room still. Please smash that like button on the way out. Love each and every one of you. I will see all y'all in the next one. As always, fins up all day, every day, even beyond the grave in which we'll lay. And baby, football, it's right around the corner. Let's go. Appreciate all y'all. Have a fantastic night, everyone.